It's Glory, God, and Gold with the Virginia Company. Welcome in, everybody, to 52/1995, your live music conversation podcast, where we're going to dive deep into the music of 1995. In case you couldn't tell from the title, this is the first expansion of the 52 universe from our sister podcast, 52/1995 movies. I am your host, Alyssa, and I am joined, as always, by my fantastic co host, Cody. Cody, say hello to the beautiful people.
Hello, beautiful people.
Thank y'all for joining us. If this is your first time joining us, we are so happy to have you. We are glad you're here. Each week, in case you were curious, there's 52 weeks in a year, and each week we're going to explore a different album from the year 1995. So we'll talk about important releases, really discuss some of the songs in detail, and I'm going to talk here with Cody about his thoughts and experiences with the music. On top of this, on top of having a different album each week, we're trying to categorize things by month. So each month is a different genre or theme. This month's theme is soundtracks. This is our third installment of the soundtrack month, and today's album is Pocahontas, the soundtrack and music from the Disney movie Pocahontas. Now, we haven't covered Pocahontas on 52/1995 movies yet. I believe that's happening towards the end of the year.
I think like October, November, or
Okay,
something
I
like
thought
that.
no, so I was thinking November. So it will get covered in terms of we'll talk about the movie over there on that podcast. So stay tuned for that. Today is solely focused on the music. But again, I want to introduce Cody. He's here every week with me, and I appreciate him very much for that. But before we get into it, Cody, I want to ask you, what is your experience with this album, with this music, with the movie Pocahontas?
Okay, so usually I say, "Oh, my older sister had this album and I listened to it." But not this time, baby, cuz I had this album. This
Hey,
was maybe no, I don't want to say it was the first like cassette tape that I ever owned. Pocahontas the movie though. No, I'm not going to talk about the movie.
you
But
can
this
a
is
little bit. I mean, it is a soundtrack for a movie.
I
We're just
know.
not going to talk about like the plot.
This is the first movie ticket that I kept. It's
Mm,
not the first movie I ever saw in theaters, but the first time that I knowingly kept a movie ticket. Yeah, and it was probably because I based that on my older sister who was keeping her. She even worked at the movie theater at the time, but I remember
mhm.
that. But I love the music so much in this, and I made my mom probably. I don't know if I bought it, but I made my mom buy the cassette tape. There's a white
Mhm.
cassette tape. It's probably still exists. Disney had a thing. They would put them all in white.
I'll say that like strikes a chord. It's almost like when Nickelodeon put all of their VHS on as were orange, they're bright orange.
Hmm.
But I wonder if I had this. I very distinctly remember a white cassette.
Well, I think like Disney might have done that with all of them. So I can't remember. I had a Goofy movie on cassette as well.
Hmm.
Um, so around the same time, but I was an avid listener of mostly Alvin and the Chipmunks covering country songs at that time. So this just added to that collection.
Oh yeah.
This and I would play this in our family's karaoke machine.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then I would plug, I would sing part of the songs and stuff through the karaoke
Mm.
machine. I was a performer, natural born. If you didn't know, I could have been an OM, Odyssey of the Mind. Um, Not like my last guest on the podcast. Just he was an Odyssey of the Mind guy, but they're performers. That's what I was getting at.
Gotcha. I think yeah, I don't remember, like we had cassettes. I don't remember the ones that we had. I do remember though having I believe 4 or 5 CD set of the Disney classics.
I remember
And
those. Those are the
yes,
ones like the different color, like
yes, there's a
Mickey, right?
yep, it's just like a Mickey head, just the silhouette. There's an orange one, a burgundy one, a navy, a green, and I want to say a purple. Um, and there might be more, but those are the ones that I remember. And like obviously this, I was a massive Disney kid. Disney was like the only thing my parents would allow me to watch. I like exclusively watched Disney up until a certain age. Nickelodeon thrown in there occasionally as well, but more so in the TV realm. But movie wise, I pretty much only watched Disney. So Pocahontas was a staple in my household, more so the movie than the album itself.
So
Uh,
is this would be like the second one of these, like, except for I guess the one that you learned the dance to. This will be your third album, I guess, that you knew previous to this podcast.
yes.
Shania Twain, this
Yes,
one.
this one I at least have some. Yes, I knew this one very well, very clearly. I remember singing the songs with my friends, like on the bus or at lunch, and just loving this movie and loving the um loving just Disney songs in general. I think the last time I actually watched Pocahontas was Thanksgiving 2015. And I wasn't I was my it was my first year in Cincinnati. I couldn't go home because I was working retail and Black Friday is a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I invited my two other retail friends over and we made brunch. We had Thanksgiving brunch and then we were like, let's watch something festive. And we couldn't think of anything. So we went with Pocahontas, which is
Wow.
probably not okay. But that's the last time. So I have seen the movie in not recent years. 2015 was
That's
10 years
more
ago,
recent than I think I've watched it.
but it's more recent than maybe. I was like, oh yeah, I recall these. So yeah, so we both have experience with this movie, with this album. So this was not new to us. However, we did decide to listen to the score as well to go along with this. So I think that kind of just adds to our experience with the album. Of course, when you're a kid, you're listening to the songs, and there's about five-ish the songs in this whole movie, and then there's a very extensive score.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of happy to get to listen to that, and it was fun listening to the instrumentals and kind of picturing. I'm like, oh, I know exactly what's going on in this moment right now.
Yeah.
Just
Oh, I
from
actually wrote that down.
they did
Um,
they did a great job.
yeah, I wrote that on one of like the score segments
All right. Well,
specifically.
we'll talk about those because I've got a couple. I've got regular songs I want to talk about. I want to talk about some score songs. Anything you want to say before we get into it?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, let's talk about the album Pocahontas. So, a couple of fun facts, some album information. It was released May 30th, 1995. It is 56 minutes long if we're talking about both, again, songs and score together. The music, and I pulled this from, again, Wikipedia is typically my source material. But it says the music for Pocahontas has one of the largest and most complex scores ever written for a Disney animated film. It was the fourth Disney animated film that was composed by Alan Menken with lyrics by Stephen Schwartz. So those are the two masterminds behind Pocahontas. Uh,
Stephen Schwartz, he's Wicked guy.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Like Wicked the musical or Wicked the
Mm-hmm.
movie?
Wicked the musical.
Oh, so he's just a genius, is what we're getting at.
I mean, he's done other things besides that Godspell, Pippin. Those are other things that he's done. But Wicked, that
Mhm.
clicked with me, and I was like, oh yeah, that
Is
guy.
that guy? Yes, and specifically with the lyrics. The first song that they wrote for the movie was "Colors of the Wind," and obviously that song basically framed and influenced all of the other songs that were written for this movie. So that's very interesting. And now that you say it, I'm like, oh, I hear big strings and big sweeping sounds, and it's like, yeah, I'm like, I can compare. You could compare this to Wicked, sonically. So that's kind of just an overall thing. Did the album chart? It actually did. I was surprised to hear this. So it hit number one in the Billboard 200. Sold 2.3 million copies in the remaining 2 months of 1995 alone. So it released in May, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the movie's out, the album's out, but sold 2.3 million in November and December of 1995. I don't know if it was because of Christmas. I don't know, and holidays, people getting stuff for their kids. If their kid watched Pocahontas 6 months ago, and now that's what they're asking for Christmas. Maybe that was why. but 2.3 million copies in 2 months is for a Disney album is pretty
Yeah.
crazy. Colors of the Wind did peak at number 4 at the top Billboard 200, and it became the 5th consecutive soundtrack for a Disney animated film to surpass the 3 million milestone. So that follows The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and The Lion King. So this is prime Disney era. And Pocahontas is, even though not maybe as recognized as those, like as much as those last 4, still as successful as those last 4.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very good. I'm pretty impressed with the stats that this album has. I'm not gonna lie. In terms of the legacy, the film's soundtrack is probably best known for the song that serves as the album's anthem, again, Colors of the Wind. But that went on to win an Academy Award for Best Original Song, a Golden Globe, also for Best Original Song, and a Grammy for Best Song Written for Visual Media. So Colors of the Wind killed it. The soundtrack itself also won the Academy Award for Best Musical or Comedy Score for 96. So has at least the album itself has 2 Oscars, a Grammy, and a Globe to its name, which is very, very impressive. There is a documentary out there about the movie and about the soundtrack specifically. There is a movie dedicated to the Pocahontas soundtrack. I have not tracked that down yet, but I am quite curious to see that. It's basically the producer and writer kind of talking through their creative process. And in honor of the film's 20th anniversary, the soundtrack was remastered and reissued as the 11th entry of the Legacy Collection series. So those are at a high level, some fun facts. Again, don't really want to get into the movie itself because that's going to be talked about later in the year. But like again, I'm always kind of like really surprised by like some of the accolades that these albums get. Again, this is a soundtrack for a children's movie. That again, Billboard Top 200 #1 spot for a moment, right? Like this is the same year of Alanis Morissette. This is the same year of Shania Twain. This is the same year of, I think, Bone Thugs and Harmony is what we're going to talk about later, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like thinking about everyone who put things out this year, Pocahontas somehow swung her way in. Like she's just like, hey, I'm here. And that's impressive. Again, children's movie. And we also are coming off the heels of The Lion King from the previous year, which talk about, awards and accolades and a soundtrack really being, now granted it was an Elton John soundtrack.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't have a celebrity tied to its name. But again, as I kind of mentioned, not necessarily Disney's most remembered or most beloved movie, right? And we think about The Lion King, we think about Beauty and the Beast, we think about The Little Mermaid, we think about the cult classics like A Goofy Movie, which also is slated to come out this year. But Pocahontas really does kind of hold its own, especially in the music space. So it's we need to acknowledge it. I see in the chat, does Christian Bale sing on the soundtrack at all? Unfortunately not. Christian Bale's character in the movie does not have any singing role. I don't think he's part of, I mean, technically, in the movie, he's probably like part of the chorus, but in terms of like the actual recordings, no. So very sad. I do love that Christian Bale is randomly a side character with 3 sentences in this movie.
It's true.
Arguably the most handsome character in this movie.
But he comes back in the sequel as a different character.
Is he
I'm pretty sure. I think he's John Ralph. Yeah.
John Ralph, her real life husband.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he comes back as a voice actor in the second one.
He's just got a voice, one of those voices.
Nope, I'm wrong.
Okay, who's John Ralph?
Billy Zane is what this says.
Oh.
I thought it was somebody. I could have swore it was him, but he does end up playing John Smith in a like real life version of this. Or not like not a cartoon version of Pocahontas, but
Christian Bale does.
Yeah, it's called The New World.
When that come out?
Like 10 years ago, maybe 20 or not. Yeah, I don't know. Somewhere around there.
Is Pocahontas?
Nobody's ever seen it.
Is she a child in the movie?
No, they aged it up.
Okay.
Everybody's older now.
Okay. Interesting.
I've never seen it. I just know about it.
All right. Well, maybe
Oh,
that's
way more. And I'm wrong about that too. It's Colin Farrell. But Christian Bale is in it as John Rolfe.
Oh, okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. So
Man, I'm all over the place. I'll shut up.
you're good. No, I mean, obviously, this story has been bastardized. Like, it's not true. It's it's very loosely based on people who existed at the time. If we look at it from a 2025 lens and perspective, we're like, none of this is cool. None of this is kosher. None of this is okay. But as what we're trying to do here is just very high level, the bird's eye view of a piece of media that we enjoyed as children, and not super analyze, the nonsense that is this Pocahontas story. Rather, let's just enjoy the songs for what
That's
they
right.
are.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here. So, anything to add before we break down some songs?
I don't think so. I just don't cancel me, I guess, for some of the choices that I make in when we break down the songs.
Okay. So, well, I know, and I know that when we've done, again, we do this every week, and you like to pick ones that are not necessarily the hits.
Yes,
But this album doesn't have a lot of songs.
it doesn't. You're right.
So we kind of have to talk about the hits a little bit. But I do want to, which ones stuck out to you? Like, what do you've got on your list?
So Colors of the Wind, I think, is such a good song, period. Like,
Mm-hmm.
lyrically, I think it is, really, really good. So I could not say Colors of the Wind.
Mm-hmm.
So I did highlight that. I did not highlight Just Around the River Bend, although I think it is a very fun song. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I went with Mine, Mine, Mine.
Mm-hmm.
Savages Part 1 and 2.
Okay.
And Colors of the Wind. So those are my ones from the I guess like the actual soundtrack part of it, the
Mm-hmm.
musical part of it. And then I selected three others from the specific score section of the soundtrack that I really enjoyed.
Okay.
Um,
I say
and then
I have
I have like red highlights on the ones where I was like, not a fan.
not a fan. That's fair.
Yeah.
No, I have three instrumental tracks as well. I picked Just Around the River Bend because that is it's such a good if we think about an intro, it's not the intro to the movie, it's not the intro to the album, it's the intro to our main character.
Mm-hmm.
I think it tells us everything. Like I think it's also I sing it every time I'm in a kayak. Like I am that person. I am peak millennial that
She's
if
in a
I get
kayak a lot too.
I try to kayak once a year. I haven't done it in a while, but I do enjoy kayaking. And the second I'm in the kayak and I'm like, just around the river bed, because I'm that annoying person. But it's fun. And so I picked Just Around the River Bend and Colors of the Wind because they're the two top. I did pick Mine, Mine, Mine. And I specifically picked Savages Part 2. Parts 1 and 2 go together, but part 2 is the one that I like remember and has like way more movement happening in it
Mm-hmm.
so but yeah, let's talk about just Around the River Bend. I think is we don't have to discuss it necessarily. It's just a great introduction song to who she is, her character, what she's thinking, what she's trying to figure out. Like, yeah, that's a good. I like the song a lot.
Is that
Clearly.
okay? I know we're not talking about the movie, but I gotta talk about the movie. Is because I haven't watched it in a while. But is Just Around the River Bend, is that the one where she does the dive off of the off the waterfall,
She
or is that Colors of the Wind?
Well, she does the dive. She's not singing in the dive.
Oh,
There's a dive. She does like that. Yeah, that her sister's trying to find her, and she's like, "Where are you?" And she's like, "I'm up here." And she's like, "Well, then get down here." And then she goes, "Boo!" And her sister's like, "This idiot." And I think they introduce her in that way, and then Just Around the River Bend plays.
okay. Yeah, I was.
Huh?
I wasn't sure when it
Oh
happened.
yeah.
So
But yeah, that's a cool. It visually is beautiful. Like, and And the thing with the sound itself is like there's the cymbal crash, and that's like that like symbolizes again like the waves crashing or her like taking a sharp turn. There's a like the just around the riverbed, and it's like oh,
Hmm.
but like sonically, like it builds so well. It's very theatrical. Again, this is soundtrack month. We're talking about musicals and movies, but this is very musical-esque to me. And also lots of string builds, and I love the strings.
Lot of strings in this.
But
No,
tell me your oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna change the subject.
Yeah, go for it. I'll
I
bring
was
up mine on a different song.
okay, tell me your thoughts about mine.
This is the funniest song that we have, I
Mm-hmm.
think. Um, Especially, I thought it was really funny when I was a kid, and they were that hi nunny nunny hi nunny nunny. I love that part as a child
I guess
because I
is
thought it
that
was very
I wonder
funny.
if that is Christian Bale's character. No, it's not. It's not. Never mind. It's the just kidding.
Yeah, it's like the LeFou character.
Yes. There are
Wiggins,
Wigan. I said there's a lot of parallels to Beauty and the Beast, I think. Um
like
it
to Beauty and the Beast.
yes, the songs itself I feel like have a lot of parallels to Beauty and the
Mhm.
Beast, but we can get into that later when I talk about my music pairings. Spoiler alert.
But this is kind of like mine is kind of like the Gaston of
Hmm.
that section. It's just talking about like why they came to Virginia and to dig up all this gold and that doesn't exist and they don't know
Hmm.
that yet. But especially they've got all these people in their way. Mine is the fun part of the Ratcliffe character.
Hmm.
He obviously is not a great. He's a villain in this movie,
Hmm.
but it's fun and there's a lot of hey nanny nanny ninny and all this other stuff in it. Uh,
Hmm.
Diggity digs and it's
Hmm.
just a lot of fun. I like this song.
I agree. The men's chorus that kind of supplements the song. John Smith even gets a couple lines in here. I didn't realize this until I was like, because I didn't know the lyrics to this song. I know some of the lyrics, but I didn't really know. And then when I looked into it, I was like, oh, it's double meaning. Like I always knew it was mine, like possessive, like this gold is
Hmm.
mine. But then he's saying, go
Mine.
mine the gold. Like he's like, mine boys, mine boys. Like, and I was like, oh, and that, like did not occur to me until today when I was looking into the lyrics. I was like, oh, that's kind of like that. Like you said, it's fun. It's one of our catchier songs. Again, a villain song always is pretty
Hmm.
much a good time. Um, but to have that double entendre, I didn't know as a
Yeah.
kid. So I think that's very clever. Um,
And he doesn't do any digging himself, too. He proves that in the song. He says, "I'd help you, but my back."
got
He's
that
got
prick
that.
in my
He's
spine.
got that Joseph back.
Got that Joseph back. Oh, poor Joseph.
Poor Joseph. That's all right.
But it's very good. Um, what about Colors of the Wind?
Color. So maybe I'm moving ahead of everything, but I would rather hear "Colors of the Wind" sung by the voice actor who did Pocahontas
Mhm.
than the Vanessa Williams song 100 times over.
Oh my God. I don't
Because
know. I don't think I've ever heard it until
the
listening to this
Vanessa
album.
Williams one,
Yeah.
yeah, it's dated in like that arrangement of it by Vanessa
Mhm.
Williams. It's so dated. It feels like of its time, and I compare it to another song from another movie later. But yeah, no, Colors of the Wind is a bop. It's also got the best lyrics. B- and maybe it seems like a little like some of the lyrics might seem a little like on the nose, I guess, about like accepting people and
Mhm.
but I still think I don't know. It really hit home with me.
Yeah.
But
And
yeah.
it's interesting, like to see, Disney's always been a leader in children's media, of course, but really teaching kids about acceptance and different cultures and different people and being open-minded about that kind of thing. Um, I kind of wonder, and this is me, I if any, I go on rants too frequently about Ronald Reagan, but
This is a
but
safe space. Screw him.
this is a safe space. Ronald Reagan enacted in during his presidency um, laws. And I'm being as neutral about this as possible.
Let's do it.
Enacted laws, specifically in the advertising space, where prior to that, advertising was you're not supposed to advertise to kids because they're a vulnerable population. And what he said was, you can advertise to kids so long as whether it's on television or a movie, that the messaging is quote unquote morally good. And that's when we get things like Barney that comes out in the 90s and like these television shows that are and movies and media that are specifically surrounded around like a villain, a bad guy, and morally good characters who love and accept one another. So that is like kind of kicks off, and then we see a wave of that for what essentially millennials grew up on in the 80s and 90s. And this is one example of many. It's interesting coming from Disney because Disney, Mr. Walt Disney was pretty racist himself, as as has been told. I did not know him personally, but yeah, you have this song in this movie about a indigenous woman to the United States with a white man who is a white group that is set on destroying and mining and taking back to England. And it is it is on the nose, but like for the time, I think that's one, what was popular, what was needed, necessary. But it's still bang. It still
I was
bangs.
about to say, and it's still relevant too. Like, yep, we're still pieces of shit and still doing all the bad things.
Still doing all the stuff. And I do like the imagery and the lyrics. Like as a kid, you're like, wow. Like, and as an adult, you can still really appreciate it too. Like, I know every rock and tree and creature has a life, has a spirit, has a name. The heron and the otter are my friends. The rainstorm and the river are my brothers. As a 5-year-old, that's like hard to comprehend,
Mm-hmm.
and it is quote, deep in a way. You're like, wow. And the older you get, you're like, oh, it's still like I get it more now, but it still is very good, still very relevant, still packs a punch when you listen to it.
Yeah. A
And
lot
you're
of
just
good
like, yeah,
imagery in this, obviously.
oh yeah.
A lot of colors, a lot of obviously
Hmm.
blue corn moon or white copper skin, like a lot throwing out there. No, I just think it. Have you ever asked the grinning bobcat why he grinned?
I feel like I learned about a lot of different animals from this song.
I mean,
Because like I didn't know what a heron was as a kid, but then I
mhm.
think I learned from this song again, the bobcat, and like I don't know when I'm
I
5,
still
but
don't know how high a sycamore can grow.
I feel like it can go pretty high.
I ain't never befriending no heron. It's probably because you haven't met one that you liked yet. What about Katie Heron?
She's pretty cool.
She's pretty cool.
I saw her wearing army pants and flip-flops, so I bought army pants and flip-flops.
One time she punched me in the face.
This podcast is peak millennial. It's just peak, and I'm not mad about it.
Hell no.
I have a question for you. Again, I
Yes.
do I do this occasionally. And by occasionally, I mean at this point it's every week when I just ask you a random question. I know we have more songs to cover,
Yeah.
but are you, how do you like not how do you feel? John Smith doesn't get much in terms of singing. Would
Oh,
you have
that's probably good. I don't know if
okay.
um I don't know. I mean, Mel Gibson seems like he can hold a tune a little bit.
Well,
Like he's
he got a couple lines in mine.
mhm.
I don't know. I was like, I wonder if we could have gotten like a John Smith song, whether it was Mel Gibson who voiced him or not. Like,
So
or, because even Pocahontas' voice actress is different than her singing actress. Those are two
yeah.
different voices that play her. But I was it's similar to Aladdin where Jasmine doesn't get a song. She just has a couple, and it's Leah Salonga, who is Jasmine's singing voice, who is Broadway legend. and
Mhm.
has voiced multiple Disney princesses. But she gets like 3 lines in A Whole New World. And the same with John Smith. He gets a couple lines in the Mine, Mine, Mine song. And I was like, oh, it would have been kind of nice to maybe have uh, something from his perspective or something that, I don't know, makes him a little more likable. Not that he's unlikable. It's just like, I need to, like, you don't have a lot of depth. And I'd like to know if you have some depth.
Yeah, so, actually, and I didn't know if you had written this down or anything, but there's another song that's not in the, theatrical release of this,
The If
uh,
I Never Knew
"If I
You.
Never Knew You," which is sung by Judy Kuhn and Mel Gibson. So he actually does get a little bit of more singing time in that
That
song.
in this album?
Not on this album. So that's
Uh-huh.
why it's not like, I don't have it listed here,
Right.
but there is that version. It's filmed. There's even, like, there's an extra scene in other
Mhm.
like, you can choose to watch between which one you want, and it's actually in there. It's not in the
Oh,
theatrical release, and it's not on the original soundtrack.
I was gonna say, so I saw the song and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the credits.
Right.
I haven't heard the credits.
Vanessa Williams' "Colors of the Wind" is the credits, right?
Maybe. I don't know.
I
Maybe
don't
is it
know.
both of them?
I don't know.
But I knew that that song existed, the If I Never Knew You. I knew it was a cut song. I did not know that you could see it.
Yeah,
I've never seen it.
I haven't either.
I've heard the song before. I've heard like covers of it or renditions of it. Did not, again, similar to the Vanessa Williams rendition of Colors of the Wind. It is a very dated sound.
Mhm.
But I was sitting there listening to it thinking, dang, I really would have liked for this to be in the movie and for Pocahontas and John Smith to sing this together. Like, I think it would have made them more understandable as a couple.
Yeah.
And like it's something that we kind of lack in the music of the show. Like I would have liked, in Beauty and the Beast, we have the Something There song where they
Right.
duet together and it's like, oh, that's like, pushes, it's the montage of their relationship blossoming. I kind of wanted that here. But I did not enjoy the the very 90s vibe with the
It's very 90s,
it's
yeah.
so 90s. And I don't even know what that instrument is, but the do do, like it's like synth, but like not a good one.
Oh, yeah, it's like chimey, like bells, like,
Yeah.
almost. I know what you're talking about, because the song that I reference when I'm talking about this one is, we did this movie on the podcast, 2 years ago? I don't remember. Pagemaster. Pagemaster has a song
Uh,
over its credits called "Imagine," and this
mhm.
song sounds just like that song.
Oh, really?
Yes, 100% the same song. And for anybody, you go out there and you listen to them back to back, and it's because of that. And like, even like maybe it's just a thing of like pop music at this time, because like there are some Mariah Carey songs that sound like this.
It's a
Um,
very it's a 90s sound in the same way that we think of like certain synth
mhm.
sounds when we think of the 80s
80s,
or
yeah.
yeah, it is like quintessential, like it is a for a point in time and that is it. And 1995 is that time.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
it just hasn't been picked up since, and that's probably for a
and
reason.
and the same for "Colors of the Wind" too, the Vanessa Williams rendition of it, which I had as not one of my favorites. It has that same feeling, that 90s feeling around it, and like, good for Vanessa Williams, whatever, but yeah, it was not my favorite, I'll say that.
No. They got a pretty decent commercial success, it seems.
Mhm.
Like her rendition specifically, but yeah, I agree. I'm like, this is very 95, and to listen to it in 2025, you're just kind of like,
Yeah,
meh,
it's that keyboard. That's what it is. I mean, it
that.
has to be some kind of like keyboard thing, because I'm listening to the beginning of "Colors of the Wind." I'm like, I hate that. I don't like that sound. It's like it's the keyboard, whatever it
It's
is they're using.
You're right.
It is dated, and I don't know if I want it to come back. Like synth of the 80s, I'm like, yeah, let's get some synth on here. Unless
Hmm.
somebody like does something amazing with it nowadays, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I agree.
a lot of contemporary Christian music during this time had that sound to it too. It was like, not great. That I mentioned that "Friends Are Friends Forever" song to you the other day, and that is very heavy on this kind of like
Yeah.
sound. So sorry,
Very,
I
very,
derailed us to talk about
no,
Michael W. Smith.
it's all, hey, it's in the realm of 90s music. That's what we're here to talk about. Um, well, what about Savages, parts 1 and 2?
So "Savages" is a problematic song, but I think it's a necessary song.
Yes.
Because it says a lot more than just like, oh, these people are, bad people. Like, look at
Mhm.
the color of their skin, they're savages.
It is jarring.
It is, especially when you don't know it, I guess. But
Mhm.
we're not talking about the movie.
But I
but I
agree, it's necessary.
and it sticks with you, which is bad
Oh, it's in your head forever.
forever.
I've told this to you, and this is not. Please don't cancel 5-year-old Alyssa. But my best friend growing up and I would sing cabbages, just cabbages, cabbages, and it just that's always stuck with me. Over 30 years later, I'm like, yep, cabbages.
And this on this album is their "Kill the Beast," I guess.
Yes.
Like, this is that parallel to "Kill the
And
Beast"? Yeah.
that's why this is the song specifically that made me think of Beauty and the Beast, even sound wise. Again,
Mhm. "Kill the
there's
Beast."
there's the buildup of strings. There's this momentum that starts like slower in the beginning and then makes its way, and it's like da 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 da. Like there's a bounce to it, and classic Disney, classic again bad guy song. I like that it's both perspectives.
Mhm.
That you see the perspective of the white men, the perspective of the indigenous people, kind of saying the same thing about one another. We know shit's about to go down.
Mhm.
Again, the music swells and matches the energy of the lyrics in a way that is perfect. But I specifically pointed out part 2 because that's when Pocahontas enters the song, and her like both groups are singing like back and forth at one another, and then she has an aria that goes over top of all of them, and I'm like, this is so good. Like again, like I know the song, but
Yeah.
you forget about it because it's not just around the river bend or colors of the wind. Even mine, 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 and you remember the chorus of Savages, Savages, but you don't necessarily remember the bridge where she's like singing over top of everyone. And again, and we're not talking about the movie, but I'm going to talk about the movie. Like the imagery that comes with it is that like she at that point is running in slow motion. She has like a sunset over her face. And I haven't watched this movie in 10 years, but like listening to that song, it immediately came back to my head. And I think that's what this producer and the lyricist just nailed with
Like,
this soundtrack is that you have the images stuck with you and the music perfectly matches it.
it feels a little like Sondheimy, with all the different especially in part 2 that you're talking about, because it like switches perspectives so many times. You got Ratcliffe and Powhatan and the tribe talking Pocahontas. Then it goes back to like the settlers, and it keeps changing the
Mm-hmm.
perspective. And like you're saying about that, like aria and everything, like it feels very Sondheimy in that respect. That
Mm-hmm.
um, this is the most like Sondheimy song on the album, which makes me
Yes.
like it too.
Yeah.
But "Kill the Beast."
Yes. It is the most, I think, musical esque,
Yeah.
like
I
if a theater production esque.
That is one thing too that I thought about this, especially with like "Mine, Mine, Mine" and "Just Around the River Bend," and like some of the other one, like the Virginia Company song, and
Mm-hmm.
"Steady as the Beating Drum." That's like, it feels more musical, I guess, than like even Beauty and the Beast. Even though I know Beauty and the
Mm-hmm.
Beast has a stage production of this, like this
Mm-hmm.
one did feel like more stage production-y, and
And
like it
maybe it's
could be.
because it comes with an ensemble.
Yeah,
Like the
maybe that's it
settlers and the
too.
tribe, they're two separate ensembles. And very rarely do we get a cup. Like, I think again, when we talk about Beauty and the Beast, there's the Kill the Beast song that comes with an ensemble. There's the Belle song to open the
Mhm.
show, where we have multiple people singing different things with, different inflections, and they're singing behind as Belle's doing her nonsense. And yeah, it's, I think when a show comes with its own ensemble, it's super helpful to, and I could certainly see this as a stage production. I would love to see this as a
This
stage
would be
production.
this should be cool. It'd be like combining Beauty and the Beast and Lion King, like,
Hmm.
almost.
They've,
Like,
I
stage
mean,
production wise is what I'm talking about.
yeah, I agree. The colors would be like, I love, if just as a PSA, if you have never gotten to see the Lion King musical, even if you're not a musical person, but you love the Lion King, you have nostalgia for it, you saw it as a kid, to say it is breathtaking is an understatement. The
Yeah.
costumes, the sound, the movement, everything about it is times 1,000. So if
Mhm.
you ever have an opportunity, get the cheapest seat, and it'll still be the craziest. It'll still be the craziest theater experience you ever have. Um,
No,
but
not the one
I
with
would
Northwest.
not the one with Northwest, but I would love to see this as a stage production. I think it would be fantastic.
So let me do you think it's possible?
No,
Like, yeah, I didn't think so either. Like,
it's not, like
it's
I
too
said, it's not revered. It's not like and it should be. I feel justice for Pocahontas, but is what this podcast is about. But I think, the Little Mermaid has a stage production. Beauty and the
Mhm.
Beast has a stage production. The Lion King. Those are, yeah, even Aladdin. Those are the four that came before this. As like I said, those are the four soundtracks that broke the 3 million club. Pocahontas was number five, and they were like the quintessential, like, these are some of our best soundtracks. These are some of our most beloved stories. This is where we get our princes and our princesses and our plushies, and peak 90s, again 80s going into the 90s, Disney. And as we move forward in, again going further in, we're starting to get Mulan, and we're going to get different cultural stories, essentially, that just as good. Mulan is one of my top favorite soundtracks from Disney. I've tried to make that argument before, and it's a hard argument to make, but it is, I think, such a fun and good soundtrack.
Mhm.
But again, it's not revered as the four previous ones mentioned, who all have stage productions, who all have live action versions of themselves.
I'm just
Um,
wondering, like, what I mean, if you go about it and make it, like, rewrite it a little bit, could you still, like, I'm just wondering. And, like, you're so conscious now that you would, like, okay, we're gonna cast the right people in the right roles. We're gonna, try not to whitewash this story. I'm still wondering if you could make a something, or be very upfront about it. Be like, hey, we know this didn't happen, but here's a love story. I don't know.
Maybe. I think you're writing a totally different story. And I mean, this
Yeah,
story is a totally different story. I think you could have done it if the real life Pocahontas was not a literal child.
yeah.
Like, if, like, hey, this is a love story, this is fan fiction. Like, it would be fine if she wasn't a child, which I think is why not why Disney came out with Pocahontas 2. But like, Pocahontas 2 is a way more, like, way closer to what actually happened.
Right.
Not literally, like, it's not like verbatim or anything. It is still quite whitewashed, but you can't, I don't, I feel like they put out Pocahontas 2 and they were like, we're gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I don't know.
It is,
Like
because it almost
it,
prevents it from getting its flowers.
yeah, because I mean, this is good music, and it's good music from Alan Menken, who's been responsible for so many good musicals, and Disney movie musicals as well. Also responsible for Little Shop of Horrors, one of my favorites. So
Nice.
let him have his flowers.
Yeah. Well, anything else to add to that?
On Savages, no.
So, which instrumental tracks stuck out to you?
I picked three, and that was Percy's Bath, The Skirmish,
Mm.
and Farewell.
Okay. I picked Skirmish as well, but I picked Pocahontas and The Warriors Arrive,
Okay.
which Farewell, as the finale, is fantastic. It's one of the longest instrumental songs that we have.
That's all I remember. Like I could see her doing it as I was
Mhm.
listening to it. Just
That's kind of how I was feeling. Like the skirmish and the warriors arrive, I'm like, I'm watching the battle scene. Like I
oh
can
yeah.
see it. I forgot that like the whole thing with Kokomo and the Kocoum and the gun and trying to get killed, and I was like, oh my god, again, like the build and the fear, as if I
Mhm.
know don't already know what's going to happen, but I'm just like, this is so good. Like it brought me back immediately.
And the thing with Skirmish too, and I wrote down, I was like, I feel like I don't have to watch. I know exactly what's going on. I know when like the tribe is on screen and those warriors on screen. I know when the English settlers are on screen, because like we talk about like the strings and horns of this, which is throughout, but then there are those little things that are a part of the orchestra that you can realize, like make you realize who we're seeing or who we're supposed to be with.
Hmm.
And it's like the percussion section is different for the English as it is for the tribe. So you get more of like a timpani boom, 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 boom,
Hmm.
boom, 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 whenever the English are on screen. And then you get more of a standard like drum or like maybe even like a bass drum instead of
Hmm.
like that timpani feel for when the tribe is on screen. Anytime like Pocahontas is on screen or anything, a lot of woodwinds, a lot of like
Hmm.
piccolos and flutes. For her, even in those like tense moments, you'll hear the flutes
Hmm.
being played whenever Pocahontas is on screen. I don't know. Honestly, like I do think I'll say I think this is the best scored Disney
Hmm.
um, movie. Like it feels like a lot went into this, and that's not to take
Yeah.
away from Lion King's score because it's a great score, but like
Hmm.
this one just felt like more intentional and had a lot more to work with
Hmm.
than some of the other stuff. Again, it's like A plus, A. They're all versions of the same thing, so I don't want
Hmm.
anybody to tear me down for any of these scores. But like, I never thought about Pocahontas score, and then listening to it, I was like, oh my god, this is
Hmm.
good. And like,
Yes,
you could
it's
play a silent movie, like there could be no dialogue, and
hmm
it just takes me through everything so well.
yes, and it's very reminiscent. Like, have you ever been to a orchestra, or have like even just watched like an orchestra performance? Like the why are you laughing?
I worked at an
Oh yeah, you
orchestra.
worked at the orchestra. Duh, duh. I apologize. You're
No,
right.
you're good.
I was
I was
thinking.
just
I was
like,
like.
yeah, I have.
I was like, I haven't. I've seen like video recordings and move like
Mhm.
in like music class as a kid. I've never actually been to the orchestra. So sorry, but
No, we should go.
I would love to
CSO's
go.
Cincinnati. Oh, sorry, doxed us.
I said
The
Cincinnati earlier.
Oh, okay. The CSO is a really good orchestra nationally. Anyway,
Hmm.
so we should go.
They got the pop stuff too, which
The
I
pops
am.
is the easy stuff. Yeah, that's the good stuff. Like
Hmm.
not easy stuff, but
The
the stuff
Beethoven, Beyonce stuff.
we would know that stuff is what
I
I'm
would
saying.
love. I've heard that, or no, I think this was last year. There was a like Avatar
Yeah,
orchestra.
those are cool too.
I would watch the heck out of that. I would probably cry. I just want to hear Secret Tunnel but played by a full orchestra.
Secret
Secret
tunnel.
Tunnel.
That'd be incredible.
um where was I going with this? Oh, but it's if the thing about an orchestra is that they are, or even going to the ballet is telling a story, right? That even if like there's no dialogue, no one's saying anything, I know exactly what's going on based on the music alone. And like you said, Pocahontas is like representative of the wind, colors of the wind. So of course we're going to use woodwind instruments for her. Like
Hmm.
again, the two different types of percussion. It is, and then the music swells, it dies down, it gets happy, it gets scary, and like I know exactly what's going on even if I had never seen the movie. I feel like if you have never seen the movie, you can still infer, okay, this is something bad's about to happen, okay, there's two groups here, okay, someone just jumped in, like It is very, very, very good. Maybe that's maybe how the medium that we could use if we were to revive Pocahontas would be via the
Hmm.
ballet,
Okay,
because
yeah,
could tell the story that way. No dialogue, just music.
I like that.
But yeah, I loved it. I agree with you. Very complex, very intentional. A lot of thought
Hmm.
had to have gone into this.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, it feels way more like a orchestra or a ballet performance than it does just like a regular old musical with a
yeah.
regular old score, a regular old Disney movie. It's very impressive.
Yeah. I and like even some of the I picked Percy's Bath. I know it's kind of like a throwaway
But
scene
it's cute.
or throwaway song, but this like I don't know if you were a fan of you were a fan of Disney, so you love all Disney stuff, but like
Mhm.
this one was the most like Fantasia-esque of
Yeah, for
it
sure.
it's like that da 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 da. Like
And
it seems like that
even
one, yeah.
Percy the Pug has his own music that goes with him. It's
Mhm.
very bell like because he's like spoiled and he has a little bell and he like rings a little bell and he eats his little cherries in his bath. And then Miko comes in and does his Miko thing. And again,
Slay.
it's slay. It's like it's two different people coming from two
Mhm.
different worlds, one of privilege and luxury and one of raccoon.
Yeah. And one of raccoon.
Raccoon. Um,
I put a poll up while you were talking earlier that was that asked everybody in chat, well, the couple people that are in chat, if they're more Flick, Miko, or Percy.
Spiritually, I am Miko.
You are Miko.
I
Yes,
am
you are
Miko.
definitely Miko.
I just want snacks and I'm a menace.
You are all of those
But
things. It
I
was
could be
split. There was a
if per
Miko and a Percy. Nobody was Flick.
Flick's a sass. Flick's sassy. Little sass pot. He's like, that's Flick.
Guess we know what we're doing for F Mary Kill. That's
Yes.
definitely what I'm doing.
Remember that. Fantastic. Okay.
It's an easy one.
Well, what was your favorite song of all of them? What was your top favorite?
My favorite song I put was Mine, Mine, Mine.
That's okay. That's good.
No, I just thought I like that song. It's very fun. Again, it's like Gaston. Like, um, I wing flick. That's funny. Um, no, it's the fun. It's the Gaston song of this, and Gaston is arguably the best song from Beauty and the Beast. But yeah, I don't know. I like a good little fun, clever villain double entendre song. So
Hmm.
that's my
It
favorite.
was. It is the most fun. I picked Just Around the River Bend. I can't get over it.
Neither
Every
one of us picked Colors of the Wind. That's very funny.
Colors of the Wind is fantastic, and like it's inarguably the one of the best songs. Like I mean, it's the one that was the most popular. It defines the movie
I guess comparing if Colors of the Wind is the Beauty and the Beast
in the
of
same way
this,
that Beauty and the Beast is nobody's favorite song from Beauty and the
but
Beast.
Just Around the River Bend is the Bell
Yeah.
or the Be Our Guest, maybe.
Hmm.
Probably the Bell.
I would say Belle because it introduces the character.
Yes. Yeah, okay. I like this. I like comparing them. And we could probably compare all of the Alan Menken ones.
Well, I think too. I mean, I don't know. Is the Little
Little
Mermaid?
Mermaid, Little
I would say
Mermaid, um,
again,
Aladdin,
and that
Beauty
was
and the
some.
Beast. Yeah.
It all four of them. Beauty, The Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, and Pocahontas are all the same plot in the sense that it is two people coming from two different worlds and falling in love, and
Ooh.
the powers that be against them.
I think
Now,
that's how it goes for like the next 5 years after this too.
fair. Well, like I think of Mulan. Mulan's got people from two different worlds,
Hercules.
kinda. I
One's
mean,
a god.
one's a god and one's a human. Yeah, that's true. But like, no, but I don't think anybody on Hercules' side is against Meg being with Hercules.
I guess that's true.
It's the love or the relationship is the problem, not necessarily the bad guy.
You right.
Uh,
You right.
So that's kind of those four in a row. It's like, it's the, but daddy, I love him.
Daddy, I love him.
I said, that's a line from um, Little Mermaid, but I
Mhm.
immediately thought of it when I thought of like John Smith about to be killed and Pocahontas throwing herself on him. Be like, but dad, she doesn't say, but daddy, I love him, but she might as well.
She just
But she
says,
does say, I love him. And everyone's like,
clutching their pearls. I love it.
do you have a least favorite?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna dump too much on the Colors of the Wind or If I Never Knew You, even though they are very 90s. I will point out the Virginia Company Reprise as my least favorite song on this.
That one gets a little, I went like, oh, again, remembering that we are using language from the early 1700s
And
or 16.
it just kind of lines up too with like Mel Gibson. Like, it's
A
when it
little too
comes
on
out
the
of
nose.
yeah, when it comes out of his mouth, I'm just like, yeah, that's par for the course. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, that's fine.
it wasn't him who sang it, was it? I
Well, he
thought it was
does.
like two side characters.
No, there's the settlers that sing, "We'll kill ourselves," blah blah blah, and then John Smith says, "Or maybe two or three."
Ah, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Gotcha,
it's like
gotcha,
six
gotcha.
lines, but yeah, that's my least favorite
That's fair.
song. What
I
about
was
you?
gonna I was gonna dunk on Colors of the Wind again.
Oh wow!
I just didn't. Again, it's you have both versions on the same album.
Oh,
The
you're talking about the other one.
Yeah, the Vanessa Williams one.
Okay.
Yes. I'd say that's my least favorite because again, you have the original. The original is perfect.
Yeah.
To 90s popify it to make it like a sexy ballad, I'm like, I'm out. I don't like it. I don't think it's good.
It's kind of slap in the face too to like Judy Kuhn who sings the original. Like,
Yeah.
this sounds
Who
good. Like, leave
again
me.
kills it.
Yeah.
There's a version, there was this, it came out, it was called Disney Mania, which was Disney Channel or just real life pop stars singing covers of Disney songs. And I had multiple of those CDs when they came out. But on the first one, Ashanti and her little sister sang Colors of the Wind together. And that's a
Mhm.
better version than this
I don't
Vanessa
doubt it.
Williams one. And even her little Ashanti's little sister is not a professional singer. She's just a child who they put on this track, and I still think it's better than that. Yeah, that's the least favorite. What
I
about
I do
lyrics?
I
Okay,
do
go ahead.
wish I no, the only thing I would say is, like, I do wish that they would have gotten somebody, obviously, it wasn't as important to Disney back then. They did get an indigenous woman to voice Pocahontas, but it would have been cool to get, like, an indigenous woman to do the, uh, the singing voice as well.
I do think it's crazy, and again, they don't just do it with Pocahontas; they do it with everybody. Like, I'm pretty sure, like Shang in Mulan, it has a completely different voice actor than
Oh,
the
yeah, it's
singing actor
Donny
who is
Osmond.
Donny Osmond.
The whitest you could possibly be, Donny Osmond.
And again, Leah Salonga singing Jasmine's part when Jasmine has a completely different voice actress. Like they do that. They Zac Efron all of these people,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's always so shocking to me. And I'm like, why would you just cast one person? Like, why can't Leah Salonga be
Yeah.
the voice, singing and speaking voice? Why can't Judy be the singing and speaking voice? Like, I don't,
Judy.
Judy. I don't understand.
Sorry.
Or Spencer.
Um,
But
yeah,
yeah,
I guess, like, I'm trying to think of the other ones. Is Belle, is hers both?
I don't know.
That one's the only one I can think of that might not be, or Meg from I think Meg from Hercules is the same singing and, um, vocals.
Paige O'Hara is the only singing and speaking voice. Paige O'Hara is
Nice.
Belle in Beauty and the Beast. So she did get both.
Nice, good for her. Good for
But
Paige.
good for Paige.
Not good for anybody else, but yeah, no, it would have been cool. And like I said, if you were to remake the movie or whatever, I think you would have to.
Oh yeah.
You'd have
Well,
to.
And I wouldn't want, I've never seen the remade Mulan movie, the live action. I don't know if that's the way to go either. They
Like
like
no music at all.
no music at all, kind of making it an action movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. I've never seen it. I've heard mixed reviews. I've heard some people love it, some people hate it. I like I mean, Mulan is a badass character, badass story. Like it can absolutely be an action movie in its own right. Doesn't have to be Disney. Disney didn't have to do that. Someone else could have done that. The reason I want stupid Mushu, I want Eddie Murphy as Mushu in my stupid movie.
Yeah.
But alas, that's not gonna happen. Do you have a favorite lyric?
Yeah, so mine is from Colors of the Wind. I really like this line, even though I do think it's kind of cheesy. But
Hmm.
it's the very end of the song. It's, you can own the earth and still all you'll own is earth until you can paint with all the colors of the wind. I like that. You can own it. You can lay claim to it, but all
Yeah,
you're going to own is the earth. Like, I like that.
yeah. Oh, it's dirt. It's
Yeah.
just dirt. You don't. I know the worth of it. I had that down as well, but I had another one from Just Around the River Bend, which is basically like the whole first verse.
Mm-hmm.
What I love most about rivers is that you can't step in the same river twice. The water's always changing, always flowing. But people, I guess, can't live like that. We all must pay a price. To be safe, we lose our chance of ever knowing what's around the river bend. I always knew the first part about the part that what I love most about rivers, can't step in the same river twice. I did not know the to be safe, we lose our chance of ever knowing. And I was like, that's a good line.
I thought you were going to go with the sturdy
A
husband,
handsome, sturdy husband who builds handsome, sturdy
sturdy
walls. I
walls.
do love that line though too. I don't know. I was like, I just think it's cute. Like it's the repetition of it. It's like a handsome, sturdy husband who builds handsome, sturdy walls and never dreams that something might be coming. It's a good song. He's a good man, Savannah.
Oh gosh.
Bringing it back to last week. It's a good song, Savannah. What are your music pairings?
So I did, we mentioned several of the ones, but I think pairing wise, kind of like, I feel like some of the other Disney movies are a little bit lighter fare. So I actually went with one of the heavier fare ones, which is Hunchback
Okay.
of Notre Dame.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
I think that I think that it's like content serves Pocahontas,
Mm,
like is more relevant to Pocahontas. And it's a love story, but it's also not a love story at the same time. Kind of
yeah,
like Pocahontas is a love story, but it's not really a love story. Like it doesn't
right.
end the way that a traditional one would work or
Yeah,
would end. I think musically, Hunchback is fun as well, and has some like very epic like French, and like you've got
yeah.
the bells chiming, and you add that in there too. So I think that's a really cool. Um,
Yeah, talk about an intense score.
oh my gosh, yeah, Hunchback's
Yeah,
great. And I just love that song from Hunchback
out
out
there.
there. Oh God, so good.
Perfect. No,
I need
I
to.
think that's
We
a
need to watch that
I that's one I haven't watched in 25 years.
because I think
Like,
it's going to be underrated, and I'm going to love it even more now as an
yeah,
adult.
as an adult understanding Catholicism.
Yes, yes, and understanding
How bad
sex
the bad
work
guy is.
and
Yeah,
and the church and all this. I
what a
mean, that's
heavy
a
movie
seriously heavy movie for, and
for children.
they skirt around a lot of things from the original novel, but yeah, it's a good one.
Crazy.
Religious trauma, here I come.
Here I come, baby. I did pick Beauty and the Beast because we mentioned it. Again, we were talking about it already. I also picked Moana. Again, I went with a Disney movie where the lead character is singing about the water.
Oh yeah, that's good.
But it was specifically the How Far I'll Go. It's Just Around the River Bend remastered. The Lin-Manuel version
Mm-hmm.
is How Far I'll Go. So it was specifically that song. Um, and it's so good. Again, singing about loving the water.
So Moana is a better version of Pocahontas, and allowing a child to be a child. There's no love story.
No love
So I guess that's
story.
the remake.
That's our remake. That's true. We have a supernatural element in a way with like with the god, Maui, the demigod. We have Tafiti. Is that the
I think so.
mountain's
Tafiti. Yeah.
name? The mountain god. There's a lot of that's a lot of fun. There's a lot more fun in that movie, I feel like, a lot
Hmm.
less serious. A lot less death and
Yeah.
racism.
A little bit. Just a little.
But yeah, that's the lighthearted version, I suppose.
Hmm.
Just got two ladies who like water. I feel like I know your answer. Would you recommend this to a friend?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the best thing to do is to get those little Disney Essentials
Yeah.
soundtracks and just listen to those, because then you're gonna get all the good ones.
Hmm.
You will miss out on bangers like Mine, Mine, Mine and the Virginia Company and um,
Some
some of
of them
those
have
other
it.
some of those little ones on there. Yeah, I mean, you put out enough of those records, they're gonna put everything on there eventually.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think the essentials are Colors of the Wind and are just around the river bend. Like those,
Hmm.
you're good with those two songs.
Yeah, similar
But
to.
score wise, heavily, if somebody was like, "Oh, what's a good Disney score?" I'd be like, "This is a great
Hmm.
score."
Yeah, I was gonna say similar to last week, I would just recommend the movie. Like, I
Mm,
don't necessarily think I'd say go listen to the entire Pocahontas soundtrack, just out, like, pull it up on Spotify and give it a listen. Like, I mean, maybe just the songs from the movie itself, the one like the non-instrumental songs,
yeah,
the actual soundtrack. But at that point, I'm like, no, just go watch the movie and pay attention, and like take it in and enjoy it for what it is. Uh, but that would be my recommendation.
yeah.
So, what's your rating?
I give it 4,
It's a good
which is high
rating.
for me. I think, right?
I think so.
I mean, I think this album has its like I think some of the music has its problems, and probably aren't ones that you're going to listen to. Like Savages, you're not going to listen to that. And I think the '90s songs are a little too dated, like those '90s versions of it. So, I mean, it would probably be a 4.5 if it wasn't for those kinds of things. But again, the score is fantastic. The main songs are really, really great songs that I do think this movie gets often overlooked.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, that's
I
what I
agree.
give.
I
What
gave
about
it
you?
for that reason, same reason as you, but I gave it a 4.5.
Yeah.
I would have given it a 5, but because there's those little ones, I mean, speak for yourself. I'm going to listen to Savages 40,000 times.
I just
uh,
laugh every time I hear it, and that's
it
probably
is,
not the right response, but I mean,
you
it's
just
pretty
laugh when you're
funny.
uncomfortable.
Yeah, I'm just like, ha, ha, ha.
Haha. Yes.
Barely even human.
Oh, God. Cabbages, cabbages.
Cabbages, barely even lettuce.
So dumb. 5-year-olds are stupid.
I
Okay.
love them. They're so funny. They're so funny.
Just cabbages. But yeah, there's really the 90s songs at the very tail end. I was like, eh. And am I gonna go back to listen to the actual like score? Probably not.
Yeah.
But for the feat that it is, again, for the fact that it's overlooked, for the fact that images pop in my mind for when I do listen to it, I had to give the 4.5. I thought it was
Nice.
great. And it
Yeah.
reminded me because I was excited. I was like, yes, it's Pocahontas week. I'm so excited to listen to this again. And now I'm like, oh, I gotta watch this. Like it
I
got me like
know, it sucks.
re-excited about it.
It sucks that it's so far off.
I mean, we can still watch it and then
Nope,
watch it again
I
later this
will
year.
not watch it. I won't
Not
watch it
until
twice.
November,
I'm a one-watch kinda guy. No,
perhaps around Thanksgiving.
maybe.
Well, that's all I got for y'all. That's all I got for you. Thank you, Cody, for joining again and for being here and doing this with me. This is fantastic. Uh, Before we let you go, any music recs before anything you've listened to this week? Anything stick out?
I don't think so. Listened to I mean, I've been listening to a lot of stuff. A lot of my sad girl music I've been listening to lately. Some John Prine I've been
Are
listening
you
to
okay?
lately. Yeah, oh, I'm fine. Yeah, I
I
just
said you haven't listened to side girl music in a while.
no, I'm okay. I was just listening to some sad girl stuff, because I felt like put them away for a while, and I was like, I want to go
True.
back to some of these people.
That's fair.
So I've been listening to that a little bit. Meet Me at the Altar, a little pop punk girl group. I've been listening to them too. So, but mostly it's still the same from last week. I've been listening to Arm's Length a lot more. So
Sounds good. I'm still
that's it.
listening to Irish music since St. Patrick's Day was yesterday. But in another addition and a recommendation for anyone out there, Chapel Roan did put out a new single called The Giver. So it is a country song, but her pipes are crazy and it's a lesbian country song. Very funny, very good. She's a fantastic performer. So that is also, it's been Irish music and The Giver on repeat.
We also went through our 2000s like teen girl vibes the other day, and that was a lot of fun.
We did a lot of Omarion, a lot
of Mario, a lot of Frankie J, Neo, a lot
Frankie
of that
J. She
stuff.
got a body like a cyclone.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, if anyone wants to talk to me about 2000s R&B and like pop rap, please, I would love to talk to you about it. I am addicted.
and this all got started because Augustana is going to be in a venue near us, and they have that song. I think I'll go to Boston. That song.
I was gonna say it kind of got started also because last week we talked about Waiting to Exhale, and it was that genre of R&B, 90s R&B.
But I was just like, oh, you remember all these like VH1 in the morning when we would wake up, we were getting ready for school, you pop it on, and you got all these music videos. That's that's the vibe.
And then we learned My Brain is Broken because I remember the lyrics to
everything. It was crazy.
All of those songs. It is stupid.
But the one that I was somewhere only we go. You know that song?
Yeah.
That song is one that is stuck in my mind from a VH1 mornings. That video. I walked the. I can't remember who sings it.
I'm gonna be mad.
Somewhere it starts with an F. I'm pretty sure.
Five for Fighting. No.
Keen. It doesn't start with an F at all.
Would never have guessed that.
Nope.
Bummer.
I was thinking Fiend.
Fiend. Yes. Fiend.
Yeah. Fiend.
All right, let's get out of here.
Yeah, let's do
Time for dinner. Well, if you're interested in getting some more information about this podcast, you are more than welcome to join our Discord server. You're also welcome to follow us on Instagram. We love to see you. We love to have you. Discord's super fun. We're talking about music and movies and all sorts of things. So get yourself in there, join the community. Next week, we are rounding out, I do believe, do we have one more soundtrack after that? Maybe.
You should have another one.
We'll find out.
You don't remember?
I know. Well, next week we do, but the following week is March 31st, and I feel like it's a new month. So we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Next week we are still on soundtrack month, and we are going back to musicals. We're going to be covering the How to Succeed in Business revival. So it's an older musical that had a revival in 1995. Again, was beat out by our musical review that we talked about a couple weeks ago for best for a Grammy. Yes, but it's a fun musical. I call it a boy musical. It is with a male main character, and it is about being in corporate America and weaseling your way to the top. It's a pretty straightforward show. If you're not a musical person, this is one that I would typically recommend to people who aren't musical people. It's very easy to follow, a lot of fun songs, a lot of silly songs. So follow along with us. It's playing everywhere that you can stream. But that's all we got. So thank you again for tuning in to 52/1995 Music. We will see y'all next